Good evening. Just going to go ahead and grab everyone's attention. I know it's 7:05, and just so you know, I'm an on-time kind of person, but weather-wise, getting everyone, make sure we're situated. I was going to wait a couple minutes and just make sure everyone gets in. I'd like to welcome everybody here this evening. My name is Tracy Rothel. I'm the president. Oh, look at that. And the principal of Finley. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. For some of the kids, I'm excited to have you next year. Some parents, some familiar faces, and some parents, new faces. So we're going to go ahead and kind of do an overview of what to expect next year. It's a very generic overview. You'll definitely get more information, especially when your kids come here in August. We have an amazing orientation. But at this point, we're just going to kind of give you a little overview of what to expect at Finley. Okay, so we'll do some introductions and welcome. We'll go through our topics, such as our student support, what type of programs or courses you'll take here in 7th and 8th grade. We'll talk about some high school level courses that your students will be taking when they're in 8th grade. We'll go over how the scheduling process works, which your kids are starting at this point. We'll talk about a school counselor. I know some of you are aware you do have a counselor at the intermediate level. However, it's a little bit different here. We'll talk a little bit more about what the counselor's role is in the middle school and planning for our future. We will have some questions and answers at the end. So if there's anything that you might jot down or have a question, I'll be more than happy to answer that at the end of the presentation. So welcome. Again, Tracy Rothel. I am the principal here. My assistant principal is Mr. Ken Parm, and we also have Miss Jeanette Alamea, who is over here, who is our director of guidance. She'll be coming up in a little bit to go over some of her slides. We then have a dean here, which is Miss Lauren Biscardi. She is an awesome student support person who helps the kids and works with the transition into the middle school. And our school counselors, Ruth Escobar, who is actually our intermediate one. Some of your kids here will know who she is. And then the two that work here are Allison Logan and Paloma Ram Logan are our two. Yes, it's Ram Logan and Logan. So we'll talk about that another time. But those are our two counselors here. From there, let's talk about our student support services. We do have a lot of student supports. You probably have these in your two Woodhull and STEM. However, they're more full-time when we have them here in the building. We have, again, our school counselors, where Mrs. Ram Logan works with our A and B last name. So if that's your last name, you'll work with her and any Spanish-speaking households. We also then have Miss Logan, who takes over C through Z. So depending on your last name, those will be the counselors that you'll be reaching out to. Our social workers, we have Miss Catherine Costa, and we have Miss Mary Guzman-Lewis, who I believe is at Woodhull sometimes in STEM, so it might be a name that your kids will recognize. We have our school psychologist. We have Mary D. Benedetto, or Dr. D. We have Jasmina Nikevska, who works here and a couple of the primary buildings. And then we have Andrea Becker, who also works here a couple days a week. So we have a great support staff. We have a lot of support staff, as you can see. It's middle school, so there's plenty of support. We always want to make sure those kids have a place to go or people to talk to. So let's talk a little bit about what your kids are going to do for the 2 years that they're here. It'll be a blink of an eye. They come in, and next thing you know it, they're leaving. But in the 2 years that they're here, we'll go through English. And if what it says there when it says 2 units of study, that means that they'll have 2 years of English. They'll take it in 7th and 8th grade, full year course. Social studies, 2 units of study. 7th grade social studies, 8th grade social studies. We do science, which are 2 units of study. Ms. Alameo will talk about some of the high school courses that we have here, but you definitely have science both years. Math, it's 2.5 years. So let me just explain that. In 7th grade, every student will take math for 1.5. One day you'll have the class for 1 period. The second day, you'll have the class for 2 periods, so that's considered a 1.5. We do that because for many of you, if you're not aware, we are in Algebra for All. In 8th grade, every student takes the algebra course and the algebra regents. So in order to prepare those students, we do a 1.5 in 7th grade. We also do offer that in 8th grade for any students who may need a little extra help, a little struggle, or you'd like them to continue. But if not, in 8th grade, it's just simply a 1-period class, and that's all determined on your child's academic ability, academic needs. We then have this technology, education, computer science. For some of us that are a little older, not me, but for some people, it's, remember woodshop? Yeah, okay. So this is kind of new woodshop. It's a tech class. We do have it where in 7th grade, it's really more with the coding, working with the computers, the 3D printers. We also have a computer science course where we're working with the new computer science. So many of those students in STEM that are working with those, you'll understand we're going to hop in and you jump right into that. When you get into 8th grade, we do actually the wood shop type of things, making the CO2 cars, making the bridges. So this is a year and a quarter unit study. So they take a half a year in 7th, a half a year in 8th, and then they take a small section of computer science in 7th grade. It will all make sense, I promise, but these are the way that they lay out. Once you get a schedule, you'll understand that. Family and consumer science. For us a little older, home ec. So that's the class where you remember how to cook and do all of those things. It's very much into also resume, personal financing, talking about how to get a job, babysitting, all of those type of things, and really a lot of life skills. So that's our family consumer science. That was what we have 3 quarters. 7th grade, they have a quarter year opposite computer science. 8th grade, they have a half a year opposite that tech. So it all works out. So that's why those have those weird quarters that are in there. We then have our physical education, 7th and 8th grade. Everyone takes it. Here we have what we call an A-B schedule. If you have kids that are either in Finley, been at Finley, or the high school, we do an A-B. So every other day classes are. It's not like a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. It's A day or B day, depending on when their gym is. We also have health. We have a half year, 8th grade. Students take that in 8th grade. They'll have a health class. We then have the arts, which is 1.5 in visual arts, and it's 1/2 unit in music. Everyone takes 7th grade art. Everyone takes 7th grade music. Music can consist of chorus, orchestra, band, or a general music class if your child is not into performance. 8th grade, we offer all of those except for general music, but it's an elective, which means kids can take it in 8th grade, but it's not required. Many of our performing kids do like to go right into 8th grade and continue in those 3 areas. It's completely a choice. And then world languages. So we do have 2 years of world language. Interesting here, if you're a Woodhall student, you will be coming in, going into a Spanish 1 class, and then taking a second year if Spanish is one of your languages, and then you'll go into Spanish 2, which we'll talk about as a high school course. For those of you coming from STEM, you will take a Spanish or English or French 7, and then you'll take that 1 class. So you have 1 year difference, but it is a 2-year time. You'll both, 7th and 8th grade, you'll be in a foreign language. And I think that is my section.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I think I see some familiar faces from our previous guidance event. So, hello. I see you have students next year transitioning into the middle school, but I also see that some of you have kids that are transitioning out of the high school or into the high school next year. So, by a show of hands, who here has kids that are older, like already in the middle school and at the high school? Okay, all right. So the rest of you, this is new to you and this is new information for you. So I'm just going to not overwhelm you too much with this information because I'm going to talk about the future. And of course, this is mainly for 8th grade. But why not? We're here. We're in middle school. Let's talk about 8th grade as well and the opportunities that your children will be afforded when it comes to course selection, core credits, etc. So at Finley, students will be able to earn high school level courses. We used to call them accelerated, but we find it that is not simply so. All students have the opportunity and access to take rigorous classes at the middle school and truly earn a high school credit. And so I'm going to go over each topic, each subject. And so number 1 would be earth science, and this is by teacher recommendation. Not all students will be taking earth science in 8th grade, but definitely that's a conversation that you can have with either the science teacher in 7th grade, your school counselor, not guidance counselor, school counselor, as the new terminology. And so earth science would be talking about in terms of planets and environment and get the student ready for 9th grade living environment, which is more biology and talking about cells and whatnot. And so there is a Regents attached to this class, it's in June. So the class culminates with a Regents exam. And so students need to not only pass the course, but the Regents exam. And in order to be eligible to sit for that Regents exam, a student must complete 1,200 minutes of labs. So that's fun because it's hands-on activities and they get to collaborate in a group with other students with regards to the labs. So that's Earth Science. Studio and Art is another credit that we're one of the few school districts that actually offers Studio and Art as a high school level course credit in the middle school. A lot of schools do not offer that opportunity, so we're pretty lucky to have that for you guys and for our students, of course. And so Studio and Art fulfills that 1 year, 1 credit of art or music for the graduation requirement to earn a high school diploma, as well as the other classes. And then we have Algebra 1, which is we are a district that we offer Algebra 1 for all, so that means that all students are programmed to take Algebra 1 in 8th grade. And so if anything, students will be carrying and earning 1 credit of high school minimum in 8th grade and carrying over to the high school. And then you have world language. And so Mrs. Rothel talked about, our dual language students who actually earn their first high school credit of world language in 6th grade. So this year they'll be taking the FLB, which is like a Regents like type of exam. And so that's their first credit of world language, high school credit of world language, sorry. And so students can continue on, but you should be, and the student must take the same language, world language. So if they're starting with Spanish, they need to continue on to Spanish in order to earn that credit. The same goes with the other world languages, such as, French or Italian. And so going back to Algebra 1, there is a Regents exam as well at the end of that year when students take the Algebra 1. And then with the world language, the non-dual language students that are taking their Spanish 1, French 1 in 8th grade, they'll take the FLB exam, which is kind of like a Regents-like exam. So essentially, a student can earn up to 4 credits of high school level classes. And so let's go back to grade 6. I spoke about the future. Now we're going to talk about the present. And so for this month, information will be gathered and has been gathered by our amazing school counselor, Ms. Escobar, with regards to world language selections. So you were, some of you had received communication from your respective principals with regards to your world language selection and preferences for your child. And so that has been, we're in the process of, finalizing those course selections, as well as the music class selections. And then Ms. Escobar will be meeting or has been meeting with students throughout the year with regards to life at Finley and the course selection process and different options for them. And for next month, between February and March, course placements for grade 7 will be entered into our student management system in eSchool so that staffing decisions can begin. Oops, I skipped the last one. And last but not least, August will be a final determination will be made with regards to the course placements, and schedules will be posted on the portal. I would say I usually post the schedules about a few days before the first day of school. All right, so without further ado, here's Ms. Ram-Logan.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Okay, yes. My teammate over here. Yeah. Okay. Hi, good evening. I'm Paloma Ram-Logan. Buenas noches. I am one of the school counselors here at Finley. It's a pleasure to meet everyone tonight. I'm really excited to share what our role is here in our department. It's Ms. Logan and myself. And we wear a lot of different hats as school counselors. This is just like a little snippet of basically what we do here to support your children. So one of the first things that we do is that we do set goals together. So recently, New York State came out with this document that we have to complete called an IPR. And what we do is that we meet with each student individually. We discuss a goal that they like to set for the school year. We go over how things are going. We go over their academics. Depending on where the conversation goes, it might lead to you need to stay for extra help after school. Are you joining any clubs? How are you feeling about yourself? So everything from academics all the way to social emotional, we discuss. We also just discussed it, talk about different academic strengths. I do have some students that might be stronger in science but need a little help in math. Okay, what can we do for you to improve in that area? Extra help, ask your teacher for help, etc., etc. We also discuss different interests and abilities, getting them ready for the future, right? So many of us, all of us, or many of us, want all of our children to go to college, pick a career that interests them, and we really start that conversation all the way at the primary, and we continue it here. So what are some of the things that we do? We introduce Naviance to them. For those who have kids who are at the high school, you might be familiar with the Naviance platform. Great tool that we utilize to explore different careers that are out there. We might have a student who might be interested in art but doesn't know what area they can go into. Naviance is a fabulous platform that you could use to explore different areas of career. And we also do things like College Week, Career Week here, which are a lot of fun. We also discuss being independent, being more responsible. And I know that it is a conversation that has already started at the intermediate schools. Next year, you're going to be in 7th grade. You're going to be more responsible. You're going to have to be, more independent on certain things that you're doing. And we continue to enforce that here, okay? So they are changing classes in between the bells. They are responsible for bringing in all their materials. Chromebooks need to be charged every night. You need to come to class prepared. Use your agenda book to stay organized, learning how to take notes. So it's a pretty big step. So we do also help with teaching those great skills. And then, of course, social, emotional, relationship concerns. The amount of times that we discuss friendship concerns or, some other appropriate social emotional issues going on in the teenage age. Those are things that we address as well with, your children. So that's just a little snippet. There's a lot more that goes on. Very proud of the department that we have here. Miss Logan is my counterpart. It was meant to be Ram Logan and Logan. It was just meant to be, and we work very well together. We love what we do. Very excited to have the upcoming 6th grade come up to be 7th graders. And in the springtime, we also do go down to the intermediate schools, and we do a little presentation for them. There used to be, I'm hoping we do it again, where they come up in the spring. And yes, okay, so COVID kind of changed things, but we're going back to normal. They come up, they get to see the lockers. That is their biggest concern. The locker, it is the #1 problem. Last year, we sent out a survey to ask them, what are your questions? 90% of the questions were, how do I use the locker? So they will practice. They'll be able to see the building. So it's a lot of fun. So we all start here by giving you some of this information, and then it continues in the spring when we actually get the kids to come here, visit, and then we go down there as well just to remind them, like, hey, this is who we are. We're here to support you. Do X, Y, and Z in order to prepare for your adventures at Finley. So it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to now present Miss Logan, who will do the next slide.
Okay, so I am Miss Logan. Nice to meet you all. So one of the things that we do in Planning for the Future is we talk about college and career readiness. Ms. Ram Logan alluded to the Naviance platform. We go into classrooms in the 7th and 8th grade to introduce Naviance and then kind of reintroduce it a little more in 8th grade. In 7th grade, they sign in, they're able to kind of get their feet wet, they do a little career interest inventory, and they're able to research basically their interests. If they have interest in college or careers, they sort of delve into that. But as we approach the 8th grade, we set goals. We talk a little bit more about future planning. The Naviance website is so involved. It's wonderful. As students get into high school, you'll be able to see how involved it really gets, to the point where they can keep track of their assignments. They are texted directly from the college counselor, or even we can send out blasts to students to let them know if something is happening, a career fair, a college fair. So it's a really neat platform. When we do go into the classrooms in 8th grade, we're able to kind of spend a little more time, as I said, creating tasks and goals for them. They can keep track of community service hours, and we spend some time researching in a little more depth careers, interests, and even colleges. So that's a really, it's fun. It's fun to go into the classrooms and introduce that to them, and it's neat to see them exploring their interests. Students registered in high school level courses do earn credits towards their diploma. Courses are also listed on their high school transcripts. So the classes that Ms. Alamia just discussed will be on their high school transcripts. It is very important, as they're in 8th grade, you know, preparing for their future, that they do well. Of course, being organized, using their agenda book, attending extra help if needed, passing the regents with a good grade are obviously all of the goals that we hope to help them reach. Dual language students continue their language throughout, you know, their years here, but throughout high school. Course final grades and credits from grade 6, as well as a checkpoint B exam grade, will appear on the student's transcript. And career exploration programs are provided in grade 7 through our Naviance platform. So I kind of spoke a little bit about that. We do meet with students as well in 8th grade individually. We do perform, we sit with them and we go over the IPR form. So we create new goals for 8th grade. And at that point, a lot of times we also speak to them about pre-registration, which is another in-class presentation that we do in the beginning of 8th grade to help students become familiar with the 9th grade electives. It does sound early, but we have a deadline of the end of February. So it gives them a good amount of time to understand what their options are, get parents, you know, involved and help them understand what selections may be made, have meetings if necessary, and kind of make good choices for them. So it's all part of them becoming adults, them becoming young adults, learning a little more independent skills, and really kind of following and figuring out what their interests are. So it's a really fun time. So that's it.
Okay, that's it. As I said, it's a lot of information, but it's definitely more in depth as your kids are here. You'll have more of time to get this. You'll see this again when you're in grade 7. We'll have you come back and talk to you more in depth about 8th grade. But this is kind of a little overview of what Finley is like and what to expect here. So we're going to go ahead and open up the floor at this time for any questions and anything we can answer at this time. Yes. So what they do instead, the question was the kids that are in orchestra, band, or chorus, they will take orchestra, band, or chorus during the school day. That's their music. We do not have a before school. It is incorporated. It's in the school day. They don't have to get up early for early music, but we start way earlier, so they're going to have to get up early anyway. But yeah, that is part of our school day. It's incorporated, so they will just go into that class instead. Yes. The hours here, someone's questioning the hours. We start, our first 7:50 is when the kids are allowed into the building. They have about 10 minutes. 8 o'clock is the first bell for homeroom. And then at 8:10, students move to the building to start the day. End of the day, 2:55 is a pickup. So we run from 8 o'clock basically till 3 are the hours. Question was asking about a lunch period for STEM enrichment. Yes, we will be continuing to offer that. It is something in the beginning of the year, students are told by their classes, they go into science classes, and kids during their lunch periods, instead of going to lunch, they still get fed. We do not feed them, but then they go up to the science rooms and they work on competitions. They go there for half the year, and it is working with one of our earth science teachers who do that for both, for half the year. The kids can do that for a STEM enrichment in 7th grade. Yes. So the question was, my daughter does chorus and band. Does she have to choose? Yes. So, but we do have an option for you. We will put them in band because that's a performance one that we'll have. But what we do offer is we do even have early morning. So we can have you come even at 7 a.m. We do offer an honors course. We offer an honors jazz band. We offer honors things in the morning, which those kids can come in and do a performance, which is considered an honors level. But they do have to pick one. And most of the time we're putting orchestra in orchestra, band in band, and then chorus would have to be the honors chorus if they wanted to continue to sing. Okay, question is about math Olympiads or search, where she is with some of the students. I know both STEM and Woodhull. We don't necessarily have a search program here. The STEM enrichment program is something that you'll hear about. That's something a lot of kids like to do. We also have a lot of after-school clubs. That's where your math Olympiads, math counts. Those type of programs are considered clubs that are after school. And then, of course, when kids get into 8th grade, then some of those high school level courses are some of those advanced courses. But in 7th grade, there is no change. The curriculum is the same. Straight up the gen ed, and then the kids can go to these enrichment programs or after school programs if they're looking for that. In 7th grade, 8th, you have more options. Question is about sports. Yes, sports are big. We actually have 4 seasons here. We have a fall season. We have a winter 1, a winter 2. We split the winter in half because our gym is really small and we only have 1. And then we have a spring season. So that is huge. That's big. We tend to have 2 teams on some of the bigger ones, 2 soccer teams, 2 lacrosse teams, 2 basketball teams. Because of the size, the amount of people that come out, it is very fun. The kids love it, and it's an incredible opportunity. If your kids are looking to do sports, I highly recommend it, and it's something they do every day after school. Sure. The question is, a student is in a special education class, will they be going into general ed classes? Yes. We do have elective classes. All kids are part of our elective classes, and depending on the level of the special ed classes, everyone switches classes. Even if you are in special ed classes, every 41 minutes, we change classes here. So kids will move throughout the building and be in our elective classes also. Yes. So question is list of activities. You can actually find them on the website if you want to look and be a little bit ahead of schedule. But when you come for your 7th grade orientation, which is possibly like 1 or 2 days before school starts, it'll be on the calendar. We will give you an entire folder, the list of every club, every sport, the dates, the information, and everything that you would need. The kids can go ahead and sign up, and we will offer you an opportunity for your kids to sign up with their physical that day so that they can participate in sport immediately. Question, are there tryouts for sports? Yes, there are tryouts. Some sports don't cut. Most sports we try to keep everyone, but we did have 110 kids come out for a volleyball team. So it really depends on the season and the sport. So in that case, we couldn't carry 110, but then there's some that we're asking, please, more kids come out. We would love to have more kids on the team. So it really varies on the sport. Okay, so question was regarding a Woodhull student that is in a language that wants to switch. You can switch from Woodhull into Finley if you'd like to stay, but that year that you did it, Woodhull doesn't count. You have to start all over again. We kind of just look past, we say we shouldn't. You should kind of stay with the language. But if it's a concern, a parent issue, and you want to change it, that's a conversation with the counselor. Ms. Escobar would be the one to speak to on that one. And just making sure that you realize that they'll have to start all over again in a level, a French 7 class. They wouldn't be moving into a level 1 class if they want to change. Okay. You can go ahead and talk to Ms. Escobar or reach out to her by email just to confirm that it's in e-school. How many days a week are sports? Every day after school. So 5, the same sport. Yep. So our fall season, if you're a soccer player, you will be here from the first day of school tryout start, and they'll go all the way until the end of the fall season, which is the first week of November, every day after school. The time is right after school at 3 o'clock, mostly till 5. We do provide late buses. I know that's a question. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, there are late buses, but our late buses are at 4 o'clock. They do not stay for sports. So if you're a sports student, you have to be picked up at 5. We do not provide that. However, we provide buses on Tuesdays and Thursdays because clubs and extra help are on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So students can come, go to that, and get a ride home. I'm a sports person and I want to go. You can be part of, or you can go to extra help if you are sports, because academics come first. Clubs, what we tell kids, our clubs are a revolving door. You can join a club any time of the year. It's not like you have to join it now and you can't be part of it unless it's a competitive club. We only have a couple of those. But if you want to be in the art club and you're in the soccer team and then soccer's over, come join the art club, things like that. So it's very much an open art clubs. We want kids to participate so they can play a sport and be in a club. It just depends on the season. Yes. Do we have performances here? Our play is here. As you can see, this is a rather unique room. It's called an auditorium. It's not really an auditorium. You'll hear me say an LGI. In the 60s, it was a large group instruction room. That was the idea of it when we wanted to have everybody all together and put everybody in a big room. They used to actually have desks on those when you put them. Yeah, I'm really aging myself right now. But these are new. There's no desks. So this stage is right here. You see right there? There is nothing behind that except a brick wall. So that's the end of our stage. So for that reason, we cannot fit any of our musical performances, which is why everything is done at the high school. They do provide busing sometimes to the high school. They would get them to the YMCA 100%. I can't say that, but I do know like some students in 8th grade may play up. They may play on JV or varsity. They do provide busing for that, for sports. Where do you find out if they're eligible for a bus? That would be a transportation question. I believe it's as long as you're a mile or more away, you're provided that, but don't quote me. Mile or more, you should get busing. But that's a question that you can call up to transportation, and they'll clarify that for you. Any other questions? If you don't have any other questions, do you ladies have anything to add? Anything I missed? Oh, if you want me to start that now. So this is this goes over on for those of you guys that are here, you'll hear it in my orientation. There are no phones at Finley. We don't have phones. We don't need phones. Nobody needs to post. Nobody needs to tell you where you are. You don't need to tag a friend. You don't need to say what's going on because you're all here in school. That's what we do. So we don't allow cell phones. Yes, they have them. Yes, they bring them. They are to put them in their locker, leave them in their locker, and then get them at the end of the day when they want to call you, text you, or tell you. If they need something, see these wonderful ladies over here? You just go to the guidance office and you can contact them. There's nothing they need to know during the day except to be in school. So that is a huge thing here. The high school, completely different. But just so you know, that is a policy here. It's something that I uphold. So when your kid says, I lost my phone at school, and my first thing is, was it in your locker? And they say no. Well, there's your first thing. Put it in your locker. So just if you guys are supportive of that, thank you. Just a little background. I have 3 children. My oldest is 21. Oh, that really dated myself. My youngest is 15. But this is a huge thing. I watch them go through middle school. I've seen what middle school is. They don't need it. It's not needed. It just stresses out. And by the way, they can't have social media till they're 13 anyway. So no 7th grader should be on any social media, which is why we tell them don't bring phones. There's nothing to be on. Sorry, guys, no phones. So there's one thing that you'll learn when your kids are in 7th grade, you have a parent portal. As everyone knows, the parent portal can see everything. The students in 7th grade get their own account. So they can log on, they can see their grades, they can see the information, they can get all of that. So it's a student access comes to, which is huge because then we tell kids to check the student portal for grades, how they're doing, information like that. They get that in 7th grade. They don't have access to it in 6th grade because the grades are not on the portal until you get into 7th grade, which is why they'll get the account as soon as they come into 7th grade. We'll start the account. Anything else, ladies? You're good now? Okay. Any other questions come up from those two information? Great. So we have a lunch period is 40 minutes. In there, we have provide about the first 25 minutes is for eating. We do allow the kids to go outside depending on the weather in that area. So that's kind of their recess or time. Kids do not have to go outside. They can stay inside. We provide the library, the makerspace. We have different things that go on, as you hear, during lunchtime. But yeah, it's a 40-minute lunch period that students are allowed to go outside depending on weather. We have to give them a break. All right. Thank you so much for coming out in this terrible weather. Have a great evening. It was nice to meet you. Can't wait to see you in August.